Hey, what's up, Masters? We are with Stacey Hanke today. Stacey, how's it going?
I'm good. Thanks for doing this and just trusting me with all of your listeners. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for spending some time with us. And hey, you are, I was looking at your bio. I'm like, wow, Stacey's a big deal.
Not yet.
Pretty good.
Working on it.
It's all good. And the cool thing is you talk about influence, and I get so many requests for people to come on the show. And, a lot of them, I just unfortunately don't have the time, right, to do them all. And your question, though, that we're going to get into later is, why do most individuals believe they're more influential than they really are? That just dug right in. And
you're not alone.
Attention. Yeah.
Gets people's attention.
I love it. So let's, before we jump into it, I want to tell who Stacey is, right? You are an author of the book, Influence Redefined, Be the Leader You Are Meant to Be, Monday to Monday. I love that. Also the co-author of a book called Yes, You Can, Everything You Need from A to Z to Influence Others to Take Action. And you are also the co-founder or the founder of Stacey Hanke Incorporated, and you've trained and presented thousands of business leaders of bad body language habits to choose words wisely and all kinds of other great stuff. And you have clients including Coca-Cola, FedEx, McDonald's, Boeing, US, the list goes on. All right, like I said, thanks for joining us.
That sounds really good. Thanks, David.
Yeah, right. It's such good stuff. Fill in anything else you want us to tell my audience or our audience about yourself.
Yeah, I think they're going to find out quickly. And my whole goal here is, because I know they could be listening to anyone's podcast right now, or they don't even have to be listening to a podcast, is really just give them some practical how-tos. Really take this, increase their awareness, going to your question you brought up earlier, on how much influence they really have rather than what they believe to be true. And data applies to whether you're currently in your virtual environment or every conversation in your personal and your professional life. So let's just make this worth their time.
Oh, absolutely. So you did mention the virtual environment. We're all dealing with that right now, obviously. So is there a big difference between influence within a virtual environment versus what would you even call it? Non-virtual environment,
exactly,
normal environment, right?
And there definitely is, because how different this would be if you and I couldn't see each other. And I'm constantly telling the clients that we're helping virtually now, turn on the webcam. Just stop it and get on. Because this is the next best thing, the closest way that you and I can connect and engage, and you can see us and not just hear us. But when you have the phone to talk through, I think it's a lot easier to distract your listeners, and it's easier for them to drift. Plus, you don't know how many emails they're doing while they're pretending to listen to what you're trying to influence them to do.
That's a really good point. And I'm it's funny because I'll turn my camera off just so I can intentionally do some emails or do some other stuff, because my whole life is Zoom calls, right? So as we get into this, what does influence mean to you?
Yes. And that's what's going to lead to the question. And how many times do you see people, they turn this stuff on and they turn it off, right? I'm sure you see your guest. Influence really is body language and messaging. They have to be consistent, David, Monday to Monday. Because when they're not, guessing who shows up every day. People are guessing who shows up for certain different mediums. Here's the other part of influence, that you have this ability to move people to take action long after the initial interaction occurs. And you and I know that influence is all about building trust and building the relationship. That doesn't happen on one email. It doesn't happen on one phone call. It's a series of interactions you have with your listener, but you build this reputation that's very consistent, where one that they can always say, every time David shows up, I trust him. He's credible. He's knowledgeable. That to me is a lot harder to achieve influence when it's over a period of time. That it's not just a one-time event.
Is there like a time frame? I'm guessing it happens, like you said, over time.
Right.
And does anybody ever kind of, earn an automatic influence? Like you just met someone, you're like, wow, that person's super influential.
I do.
Yeah.
I do to some degree, because I think about some of the clients that I'll meet via Zoom or I'll meet via phone. And then when I meet them in person, it's just that, man, you've got this way of looking me dead in the eye like it's really easy. You've got this way to interest in me, not just what they're saying, but physically. That goes back to that definition of influence. It's body language and it's messaging. You can't have one without the other. Now that also flips, David. I have numerous examples of where I've known clients for a long time, but I only saw them in their office. Then we go to lunch. I see how they interact with the service staff, and suddenly they're completely different. And it's not completely different. That's what I mean by that consistency. You start messing with how you communicate with one person to the other, how you communicate on a Friday versus a Monday morning. People will start to second guess who you really are.
So it's an inconsistency. It's the leader that's showing up, and one day they're up here, and then the next day they're way down here. And do you see a lot of that as well? Is that one of the challenges you see with leaders, or?
It's more of how they'll interact with me sometimes versus how they'll interact with their staff. Now, and I've got to say though, David, a lot of our clients were very fortunate. Because if they're coming to us, they're open to the coaching.
Good point. Yeah.
I don't see it a lot anymore. The other thing that we can throw in, this whole idea of consistency, I'm seeing it now via social media. You've got to remember that anything that has your name attached to it, when you toss it out there, especially now, we need to communicate with empathy through our LinkedIn post, our Facebook posts, our Instagram. And I'm seeing a lot of inconsistency that's there of what I really know what that person's like versus what I'm seeing them starting to post. Step back and say, all right, your name's attached to it. Are you proud of it every day? Or do some days you just kind of hide behind the email, hide behind social media and figure, they can't see me anyway, but they can hear you. They still can hear you.
Interesting. So it's interesting that you say this, because when I think of influence, frankly, I guess you kind of know it's body language. You kind of know it's, good eye contact. I think confidence probably falls in there somewhere, right? You're a confident person, but I don't really think of it that way. I think of someone that's on stage, like a Tony Robbins or somebody that's just like, hey, he's influential.
David, exactly. And I come from a not-for-profit where I used to hire speakers. And I'd be the Emcee, and I was very young in my career. And that was a big turning point for me, because at one point my boss/coach said, we need to videotape you, Stacey. And I thought, what do you mean? Everyone says I'm good, because we hear that feedback a lot. Everyone says I'm great. So I had this big ego. I totally messed up that day. We sit down and watch the video playback, and he looks at me and he says, would you want to sit through that? And at that point, David, I realized, wow, so there's a big disconnect. How I feel, what I believe to be true versus what everyone else sees. The other, what you were saying, like a Tony Robbins, you hop on stage. I've received feedback earlier in my career. I get off stage and people would say, we like you so much better when you're not on stage. And I thought, all right, I need to listen to that. There's something
interesting
there.
Yeah, it's funny. I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, I see people, even in like the podcast world, like I'd be talking to you like, hey, what's going on? And then all of a sudden the podcast like, hey, it's Dave. It's like this completely different voice, this different.
It's so true.
I always start with like, hey, masters, but it's not, it's me. That's my thing.
Right.
But some people, like, they're a completely different person through the whole interview. And then all of a sudden the interview's over and they're like, how you doing?
And it's okay. It's okay. Like, I think people really want to see who you are. Just make sure that the best of you shows up every time. Like that's the piece. They want to see your authenticity, because that's what we connect with.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. In the most recent episode of Entrepreneur Magazine, I happened to be reading it, and they were talking about Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. Everybody knows who The Rock is.
Of course.
But he's with his wife, and I apologize, I don't remember her name. But they were talking about their relationship, and he's actually, based on the article, he's an introverted person. I would have never thought that, ever.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, imagine that. Like The Rock, I would have thought The Rock was like this outgoing, super.
Yeah.
But you never know, right?
It's really
so think about that. He's turning it on.
Yeah.
And he's mastered that at such a high level, though.
Yeah. But
right?
he's created that brand and he's created that following. You're bringing up a good point. Do you remember the show? I forget the exact title of it, and it was who it was. He would interview all of these actors and actresses. I cannot remember the name of the show. Anyway, I remember sometimes watching actors or actresses on a show and who I admired on the screen, yet when they would be in an interview, they couldn't speak. They put full sentences together. And I thought, that's really interesting, where they have to be a person on the screen, which I totally get it, but they've got a script. But this comes to my point of talk about the inconsistencies of us in corporate world or whatever your job is. You can't be one person in one medium and then another person in another. It doesn't work in corporate world because there's too much competition and there's too much noise. You're trying to influence, receives a lot of messages 24/7 every day. We have to work that much harder to stand out from the noise, especially I think now in the virtual environment.
Masters, we're going to get you right back to the show. I want to let you know about a really awesome webinar we have coming up, and it's all about getting you back into production. Because what's happening right now, the gates are going to open soon, and there's definitely going to be a frenzy. It's almost like we're coming out of the winter, right? So what we want to do is start prepping people so that when that happens, obviously you're doing things now, but there's going to be a huge frenzy of business coming. I want to share with you how some of the top producers on the planet are doing this. So we have Sean Gorse, who closed just under 500 houses in 2019. We have Tina Beliveau, who runs a $50 million team. We have Jim Gray, who's a production ninja productivity coach. So they're going to be sharing the strategies right now that they're doing, not just to set themselves up so that when this happens, they get their massive piece of the pie, but also what they're going to be doing when the doors, I guess, or the gates finally open. So that's coming soon, my friends. May 7th. Sign up. Go to davidihill.com/event. Sign up. If for some reason a link's not there, just try back in a day or so. Again, it's May 7th. Or email me if you like, david@davidihill.com, and I will get you signed up. Don't forget the I. Again, davidihill.com/event. Guys, I'll see you soon. You rock. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So what would you say are some of the biggest challenges you're seeing, with people, salespeople, speakers, whatever, when it comes to this? Beyond, obviously, we talked a lot about kind of inconsistency,
sure,
and authenticity. But what else are you seeing? Are there little things, or even a second part of that question? And then what are some things our listeners can do to maybe increase their influence?
Okay, let's take the first one. What I'm seeing, what they're lacking, a lack of self-awareness. That's always, and when we are emotionally tied, our communication and emotionally are tied together to our identity, it's tough to separate the two. When we believe we feel a certain way, that we come across that way, there's an issue there. So you can't change anything that you're not self-aware of. That's just the first step.
Say that one more time. I want to go back. Say that again, what you just said.
So when our communication, the way we communicate, is emotionally tied to our identity, it's difficult to separate the two. When we believe we come across a certain way, but we're not truly aware of what everyone around us cares, you see the problem there.
Yeah.
Number one, you cannot grow if you're not aware. The second is lack of brevity. How many times have you been in a conversation, David, and you can't wait for it to end? It's long-winded. There's no sentences. It's all paragraphs. That's a huge one. The second one is we say one thing, but our body language will communicate something different. For example, I say to you, I'm really excited that you gave me this opportunity and I can barely stand it. Like nothing communicates that I truly mean what I'm saying. And we don't, now that's the extreme, but we don't make that connection. And again, I think it's because we so focus on how we feel versus reality, which leads me to your question.
No, I just want to say something funny. I was in a session, and there was a guy in the audience. It was about 130 people, and some guy had said to the guy that was running the session, he was the speaker or whatever, he was the presenter. And he's like, yeah, this is a really great class. And the presenter looked at him. He said, well, why don't you let your face know that? And everybody just started dying. It was so terrible. But anyway, I'm sorry about that. But yeah, it is so true. But it's self-awareness, like you said, right? I mean, it's
self-awareness. I'm sure there's many stories right now of everyone living with
sorry about that.
Others or their partners of how to communicate.
Yeah.
But first steps that you could take are 2. Ask someone that you can trust that's going to tell you the truth for feedback. But you have to be very specific. What works for me? When do I communicate distractions? If it's through my body language or my messaging? What can I do to have more impact on you? What can I do to have more value on you? That's the first. The second is the one that is so obvious, but I'm realizing common sense does not mean common practice. Start recording. Record yourself as often as you can. Video recording is the best.
Yeah, I hate it, honestly.
You need to watch it.
And I do this, and I
right,
still,
you do this for a living.
It's terrible.
It's what we're doing right now. Because if we don't, I think everything that I've said to you up to this point goes in one ear and out the other.
How important is recording?
Oh, because you can't see, you need to see and hear what everyone else around you is seeing and hearing. Think of your camera, and I'm thinking on your phone, right? We easily can record 24/7 if we wanted to. That's the truth. And that camera is the eyes and ears of your listeners. So a really inside view of what's really happening, what's working, because there's things that are also working for all of us. But if you don't know what that is, what those skills are, you can't grow those. And it also identifies, I didn't realize I did this. I didn't realize I came across this. And it's really simple. I'll review this after when you send it to me. I record myself a lot on my phone, just random calls that I'll take. My team is required to record themselves every month because they're out there delivering our workshops, and I want to make sure we're practicing what we preach. And it never gets easy. I would lie to you if I told you that. Here's what gets more of your increase in your awareness. It's when you continuously watch yourself on a video playback, you're more aware when you're in a conversation of something that's not working for you or not working for your listener for them to be influenced by you. That's the power of that playback. Otherwise, you just keep making a distraction.
What, I hope I did. You're not on an open, are you on the speaker microphone?
Yes.
Oh, I should have said something. We're going to probably have a feedback challenge, but I don't know. We'll find out after. My apologies. I should have told you to put on a headset or something, because what ends up happening is the mic picks up your mic will pick up when I'm talking, and then it creates feedback. Okay. Anyway, hopefully it didn't, but I'm pretty sure it
will. I just turned down my volume too, David, because sometimes that will help.
Sorry about that.
No.
I should have said something, because this is really good stuff. Hopefully it's workable. The question was going to be, what was my question? The question was going to be, there's a lot of people, I get this all the time. I'm not a video person. I don't want to do, I'm not going to do Facebook Live. I'm not going to do Zoom. That's not me.
Right.
What do you say to those people?
Well, I laugh and I tell them, just suck it up, David, because here's the deal. People see you every day, unless now I guess if you're at home by yourself and you're in this virtual environment, but people always see you. So it's happening anyway. Here's the other thing. I think if you're not doing it, you're really doing yourself a disservice, and you're doing a disservice with everyone around you, because you don't know what you don't know. Wouldn't you rather know what you can improve and change than to just keep walking through life blindly with everyone talking about you behind your back, and you may not want to have that reputation. So action, do something to change it, to enhance that reputation.
Yeah, for everybody listening, you just do it, right? Just get outside, stop being so, I don't know, you're just being selfish, I guess, right? Just like, it's not about me. Just
right,
get
I
out
don't
there,
get
have
that.
some fun and
exactly.
Just, hey, All right. So let's do this. Let's jump back to the question we started this thing with is why do most individuals, let me slow that down. Why do most individuals believe they're more influential than they really are?
Right. Ties right to where we started, and that being because we're relying on how we feel. If we receive a lot of feedback that sounds like good, nice job, who's going to tell the CEO, David, that they take too long to get to the point? No one's going to tell them that. And the higher up that we go into the rank, people tell you what they think you want to hear. And it's also the fact that we do not take the time to see ourselves through the eyes and ears of their listeners. For all of those reasons, we sit right here on how I feel. I feel good, must be good. I know what to say. It's easy. I talk about this all the time. I've even had leaders say to me, Stacey, I worked hard to be the VP. I communicate all the time. And I want to say to them, well, this isn't a badge of honor that you get for a term of service. Not if you're not taking those steps. I also can say that question because over the years of working and mentoring leaders, how many times a leader will see themselves on a video playback for the first time and come back to me and say, why hasn't anyone told me? I had no idea, whether that means I had no idea how good I was or I had no idea. That's why I am not as effective as I want to be. Yeah,
no doubt. I remember one of my first sessions, I did a train-the-trainer. This is 8-9 years ago. And I listened to the audio after. And for me, it didn't even click. Like every other word was like and but and yeah, and I didn't even catch that when I listened to it.
Isn't that crazy?
Until somebody else pointed that out to me. I'm like, that's not normal vocabulary. Like you don't need like 10 filler words for every sentence. It was just interesting. And then you obviously become aware of it. It's like you said, it's the self-awareness.
And once you take those steps of feedback, you take the steps of recording, you'll start hearing the filler word before you say it. I was listening to a webinar for my own development earlier today, and I lasted for 10 minutes. I couldn't do it. And it's because every other word was, and and I'm like, I can't even filter it. I think sometimes even if you don't know why this person is distracting, meaning you don't know that it's because their eyes are darting all over the place. You don't know it's because they're saying ums and ahs because you hear it so often, your ear's not attuned to it. Your mind will still shut down. And you know that their mind shut down when this starts to become the priority.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, awesome. Well, listen, I just want to say I appreciate your time. I took a ton of notes here, so thank you for that.
Hey, you're welcome.
I hope this worked, the audio.
I know.
If it didn't, we're going to have to do it again.
We'll do it again.
It's okay.
You bet.
And so first off, how do people get in touch with you? If they're
Thanks for asking.
In your books or
just go to the website. We are big into social media, and David, we're constantly pushing material. We don't sell on social media. We want to be here as a resource, especially now. So it's Stacey with an EY, HANKEINC.com.
Okay, awesome. And anything that I should have asked Stacey that I didn't ask you? What did I miss?
I think you hit the highlights of what that question really means, what influence is, and what can people do today. Don't wait for someday. Someday will never happen.
Give us 2 things they can do today.
Today, ask for feedback and just record.
Like, let's say somebody they just logged in right now.
Okay. I'd say pull this baby out. Pull this out in your next phone call. Just record yourself, whether it's audio or it's video playback. And then tonight at dinner, or maybe you're going to do a Zoom call with family because they're in a different location, just ask them this one question. How would you describe me? Based on how I communicate verbally and non-verbally, how would you describe me? And I am guessing we all have someone in our life that can't wait to tell us the truth and give us feedback.
I love it. Awesome. Well, hey, thank you for your time. So appreciate it. And we'll connect again soon, I hope.
All right. Thanks, David.
Masters, hey, before you jump on to what's next, I just want to thank you for checking out the show. And if you like what you heard, please give me a review on iTunes. It helps tremendously. It helps us get guests, and I just so appreciate it. And if you want, send me an email, and I will read your review right here on the podcast. Email me, david@davidihill.com. Again, I want to thank you. Check out our sponsors. I appreciate our sponsors. Without them, we can't do this. Vulcan7.com for your expired FSBOs, all that stuff. CRM. Vulcan7.com/path to mastery. Again, David's free book. Get yourself a free audiobook. And health and nutrition, is number one to me. So check out Advocare products, which are tremendous products. As a matter of fact, Patrick Mahomes uses the products. So go to livelongersmarter.com. Again, livelongersmarter.com to check out health and nutrition products. My friends, again, I appreciate you listening to the show. You rock.